Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Jaya. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Jaya. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Jaya. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Jaya. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Iskcon BBT Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. We would like to welcome His Grace Srutakirti Prabhu. शिला प्रभुपाद जी के शिष्य हैं और कई वर्षों तक श्री प्रभुपाद जी की सेवा की थी पर्सनल सेक्रेटरी ग्रुप में। एक बार जोरदार हरे कृष्ण मंत्र के द्वारा स्वागत करेंगे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। थैंक यू वेरी मच। और प्रभु जी इंग्लिश में ही बोलेंगे और जो लोगों को हिंदी में सुनना है, जो इंग्लिश नहीं जानते, पीछे ट्रांसलेट होगा तो वहाँ जा सकते।
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna consciousness movement forbids illicit sex. From the description of these verses, we can understand what an extremely sinful act illicit sex is. Sometimes people disbelieve these descriptions of hell, but whether one believes or not, everything must be carried out by the laws of nature, which no one can avoid. Translation. A person who indulges in sex indiscriminately, even with animals, is taken after death to the hell known as Vajra Kantaka Salmali. In this hell, there is a silk cotton tree full of thorns as strong as thunderbolts. The agents of Yamaraj hang the sinful man on that tree and pull him down forcibly so that the thorns very severely tear his body. Hare Krishna. So it's very nice to be back here, temple in Delhi. I always stop here. It means I'm either coming or going from Vrindavan. This time, unfortunately, going from Vrindavan after being there for almost 2 years during this lockdown. I see you're on 5th canto here. These chapters about the hellish planets, hellish conditions. In Vrindavan, we're now on the 10th canto, 13th chapter, and they're actually the final verses. Yesterday I gave class. Yesterday was text 57. So this text 57. After that, there's 7 more slokas that Srila Prabhupada gave commentary to back in November 1977. These were his final verses and commentaries leading up to his disappearance on November 14th. The verse I did yesterday, Prabhupada gave 3-page purport. That he's lying in bed, hadn't eaten for weeks, barely drank anything for weeks, for months, lying there, sunglasses on because of the brightness. It also caused difficulty. And yet in this condition, Prabhupada mentions in the very first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, says that the pure devotee, he's unaffected by the threefold miseries. So for the devotees, it's just the opposite of what you see here. And it's interesting. In the hell there's a silk cotton tree. Sounds like a very beautiful tree. A silk cotton tree. Sounds very nice. But it has these thorns. They're like thunderbolts. Not so nice. Not nice at all. I was raised in USA, of course, Philadelphia, city in the USA, on the East Coast, just near New York City. And I was raised in an Italian Catholic family. Prabhupada said the Italians were very pious. He went to Italy. There's even descriptions, one devotee, mother of a devotee, who once came to the temple, and she said to the temple president, "You have to help me. My son, he's in Maya." Italian mother, she didn't like seeing her son in Maya. So this was Italian. I was raised like that. When I was 7 years old in school, picked me out to be an altar boy. Altar boy is pujari in the church. He rang bells. I was ringing bells 63 years ago, I was ringing bells in a Catholic church. We would do weddings and funerals, walk around the body, frankincense and myrrh, purification. Some understanding is there. But in school, the nuns, sisters, the famous nun, Mother Teresa. Everybody around the world knows of Mother Teresa. So she was, say, a nun, a sister. My sister, I had an elder sister. She became a nun. She was in the church. They married Jesus. That was their business. They would marry Jesus, which means they were celibate. They would take no husband. Prabhupada said that sometimes to the ladies. Their husband would move on, fall into Maya, die. Would you make Krishna your husband? Best policy. He won't let you down. Krishna won't let you down. In the material world, everyone will let you down. Just see the degradation. When I'm reading this, I'm thinking, yes, this is going on now. This degraded sex life, illicit sex with animals. Even when I was young, I would hear stories about how they would have shows, and people would come attend the shows to see men and women having sex with animals on the stage. So very degraded, I'm thinking. This age of Kali, very degraded. But this discussion is going on thousands of years ago. This is nothing new. Degradation, illicit activity. Most degraded activity. Not that they've just started to happen in the last 100 years, last 50 years. This is being talked about here in Srimad Bhagavatam 5,000 years ago. So of course, Kali Yuga, things are progressing more and more. Taken as everything is just okay. Men changing into women, women changing into men, anything. This sex, that sex, I don't say, homosex, this sex, so much, just to try to enjoy these senses. But the reactions are there. So when I was young, just like we have young boys, girls, boys in Gurukula. I remember my son, he was in Gurukula, ashram, Three Rivers, California. This is back in 1980. Now he's 48 years old. Then he was 5 years old, 6 years old, 7, 8 years old. He was in the Gurukula ashram. And then we moved from California. Now I had a family, wife, 3 children. I realized I needed to maintain my family. So I went outside of the temple structure, Iskcon umbrella of protection that Srila Prabhupada had given. I had to get a job, had to get a place to live, pay rent, had to have a car. Everything changed. And also his school. He was no longer in the Gurukula. We put him in nearby public school. He was afraid to go to school because he had heard in the Gurukula that demons, there's only 2 classes of people. There's devotees and there's demons. So now he's going to the school with demons. And he thought they were going to have fangs coming out of their mouth. He'd heard the verses, better to be in a cage with a lion and fire than to associate with non-devotees. He was so frightened. But then he started to see these. He thought, they're not so different. They don't have fangs. They don't. Prabhupada said, here in India, he said, everyone is Krishna conscious, except for bad association, except for the government. You know, the British, what they did here over hundreds of years. And still they couldn't break Vedic culture in India. Not completely. Little bit here and there. But still, Vedic culture was there, cows were there, farmers were there. But Vedic culture got broken very quickly as soon as they put in touch the sky, television. That destroyed culture in India. Just I've seen in my own life here, being devoted, how in 10 years, was in Rishikesh, watching Babaji, Swamis, dancing, watching MTV, girls jiggling. So this is going on, Kali Yuga. Hellish condition. This is very hellish, but we're already in a hellish condition here. Me, I have to leave Vrindavan. We were all on tourist visas. Me and so many of my godbrothers, godsisters in the last week or two, the next week, we all have to go back to our home country, try to get a visa. None of us want to leave Vrindavan. Vrindavan's a magical place. It's actually a very special place. This also very special. Wherever Prabhupada has put a temple, so special. I was walking around with Prabhupada this morning. I made it just in time. The deities take Prabhupada around. So one photograph after another. Temples all around the world. Not just temples. Radha Krishna, Sita Ram, Lord Jagannath, Gaur Nitai. One deities after another, one city after another, after another, after another. Hundreds of temples. Here in India, hundreds of temples. Just in India. Here in Delhi, it's like 14, I think it's 14. 17, now 17. So this is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, such a dangerous place, this material world. Prabhupada would say to us when he was here, he said, you don't want to come back. You don't want to come back. We can see this now. I turned 70 years old. First came to a temple 50 years ago this year. Life was much simpler then. Simple life was there. It's not like it is now. No. I just saw an article, something like, it's called a nuclear family. Nuclear family means father, mother, couple of children. It's almost non-existent. It was something like 18% of family style. It means there's no father is there, no mother is there. Broken. Varna samskara, Prabhupada would say. Broken. No one even knows what to do anymore. There's no good example. Said when I was in school as a child, they would tell us, you commit. In Christianity, they had different levels of sin. There was mortal sin, and there was venial sin, little sin. Mortal sin, very, very bad. You go to hell eternally. That's one thing very nice about Krishna consciousness. Always room for redemption for anyone. No matter what your condition is. It's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I saw this. So wonderful. This temple is so nice. All of you so nice and enthusiastic. So many enthusiastic devotees. I might even say your Kirtans here. There are more people dancing here than I see in Vrindavan. Also very enthusiastic there. Guru Puja, right here, at the high point of the day, glorifying Srila Prabhupada. Because everything is coming from him. He's our Savior. We would say that back in the day. Savior of the whole world. Sometimes devotees would chant. Srila Prabhupada, Savior of the whole world. And how has he done it? He's done it with his books. This is a special month. Somehow or other, I'm always here in the beginning of December. First day, second day, today's fifth day. But I always always somehow or other get to be here. Nothing's an accident. And I enjoy being here so much because I know the Guru Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, he emphasizes book distribution. Some can say he's building so many temples, so many. Yes, what's it coming from? It's coming from book distribution. Everything comes from distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada said Krishna in every word. Before he came to America, 1960s, he lived, we know, finally he was at Radha Damodar Temple. He had his little room there. You see the room where he was doing his translating, looking through the jolly, seeing Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhajan Kutir, his inspiration, Srila Rupa Goswami, writing plans to come to America, to fulfill the order of his spiritual master, thinking how to do it. He translated Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. He told me, when I went to Vrindavan with him in 1972, I had been a servant for 1 month. He brought me to Radha Damodar Temple for the month of Kartik. What could be more wonderful? And he said, in the first canto, he said he put everything you need to become Krishna conscious. He said, I put it in the first canto. He said, because I didn't know if I would be able to do more. Everything is in there. The first canto, so nice, he said. So then, of course, when he came, what did he come with? Books. So many trunks, 4 trunks, 4 trunks. All his books, three volumes of the first canto. He started selling books. Of course, we know he was selling books before he went to America. But in America, he also was the very first book distributor. And he sold books to the captain of the Jaladuta. And in India, of course, I don't know what the book price was. Maybe 21 rupees or something like that for the set. So as soon as he went to America, and he was buying the books, he said, how much? So he changed the rupee to the dollar, to $21. Prabhupada is expert book distributor, but not for his benefit, for the benefit of all mankind, for the benefit of who received that book. Sometimes I see the temples and I think, is all they are book warehouses. That was his idea. So many devotees he made. And what did he stress? Book distribution. In the beginning, he stressed going out on Harinam. That's what we did. 1970, 69, 70, 71. Everyone go out on Harinam party, chanting. Chanting, you soften these demoniac people walking up and down the street, just trying to make money, to enjoy sense gratification, little sense gratification, so much gross illicit sense gratification. And then we were distributing BTGs. I was there, I remember 19 years old, standing on street corner in the winter in Pittsburgh, trying to get 25 cents for a Back to Godhead magazine dressed like this with shaved head. No one had ever seen such a thing in the West. When Prabhupada came there, he said, how am I going to preach to these people? Malechas, meat eaters, intoxication, illicit sex. And I'm going to tell them, you can't do any of these things. But he did it. He did it. And the results of this is just growing. What's the word? It grows exponentially. More and more here in India. You can see. And as things get worse and worse, more and more people will come. Prabhupada said that. will come. He said, have your farms. He told us 50 years ago. Get your farms together. He said, they'll come by the millions. He said, and anyone comes, we feed them. No questions asked. He said, you give them prashadam. Prabhupada, so many magic formulas, huh? Prashadam, nice prashadam. And the secret ingredient in prashadam, what was it? Ghee. Ghee. Cooked in ghee. Pakoras, samosas, sweet rice, chutneys, kachoris, puris, all cooked in ghee. One of the first things, I went to the temple. Young boy, I knew nothing about Vedic culture, Indian culture. So I met the devotees at a park, chanting. I wanted to find out about God. My background was there, but I didn't know anything. Christianity has no philosophy in general. You can get into some books, which I never did, which they never taught. But if you look in the Bible, you can read for years and not figure anything out. Because you need a guru. So when I met the devotees, I asked them, who are you? What are you people? Crazy looking people from Mars. So then they told me. I said, so what's our business? Why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I going to college? Why am I wasting my time? And they had all the answers. I never knew. I knew God. I believed in God. I was raised to believe in God. Pious Italian boy. I had no idea who he was, what he did, other than just judge people. That was God. Sat in like a big judge's chamber, sending you to heaven, hell, purgatory, suffer, suffer, suffer. That's all we knew, Christianity. Christ suffered, and then we're going to suffer for our sinful activities. They told me everything, but they told me, God, he's not suffering, nor is he's playing. He told me God's name, his brother's name, sister's name, everything. So much I heard in one day, I couldn't believe it. But I believed all of it. It was very logical. That this was God's business. Chanting and dancing. Dancing, singing, playing. But yes, that was it. I was, from the first day, I was convinced. I'm still trying to figure out how to surrender. Vrindavan has been very helpful, living in Vrindavan under the shelter of Krishna Balaram. Most wonderful. And Prabhupada said, back then he was saying, soon, all civilization's going to be finished. This civilization, so much killing babies in the womb, animal slaughter. India's biggest producer, biggest exporter of meat. India. But look what's happening as a result. You have to go one way or you go the other. People are fed up with this material life. Prabhupada said, we can give shelter to anyone, Prabhupada said. They can come, take prashadam, stay. He said the farm should be like that. So we left Vrindavan. And then what's the next big book he produced? He did everything so quickly. Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, summary study of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Nectar of Devotion, summary study, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And then he gave us Krishna book. That's the first book I saw. Started reading Krishna book. Prabhupada put the entire 10th canto. He did the first canto, and then he did the 10th canto in Krishna book. All the commentaries by the Acharyas, descriptions, Krishna, the cowherd boys, the demons, the gopis, everything was in there if you read through Krishna books. So one after another, he just injected us. Most important, because he was always thinking. He didn't know how long he would be with us. And he wanted to save the whole world, savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada. He wanted to save all of humanity. And he did. He's doing it, and it's going on. Our business is to follow very strictly what he's given us. As he said, don't change. You know, that was our one big disease. That you Americans are expert at everything. Making money, he said you could make money. 1977, I went to visit him. September. I was temple president, Hawaii Temple. And at that time, many temples, they had this business that was going on, especially the Christmas season. Besides distributing books, these other diversions were there. We were making candles, very pretty candles, different colors. You keep dipping one color, twisting this way, that way. I brought one to Srila Prabhupada. It's still now it's in his bedroom. Kind of leaned over, the wax gets hot and burned up. Kind of went this way. But the candle's still there. So I showed it to Prabhupada. He just laughed. He said, you Americans, he said, you can make so much money. You can manage things so nicely, do so many things. But we always want to improve what we consider to be improvements in what's there. Well, I was a servant in Los Angeles, 1973. Los Angeles was the world headquarters. That was before Vrindavan, Mayapur, and Prabhu were there. So everything was in the West. Los Angeles, the world headquarters. Prabhupada would spend months there. And he would have devotees come from the other temples to learn deity worship. The head pujari was a woman, Shalavati. She's in New Vrindavan now. She's probably 80 years old. So she was the head pujari. She was trained by Srila Prabhupada how to worship the deity, do the archery, do the offerings, everything. So her and I, we had a nice relationship. And whenever I left the room, everyone would always say, what's Prabhupada doing? What's he saying? What's he eating? Because our whole lives revolved around hearing about Srila Prabhupada. That was our life. That was our energy. That gave us the spirit. Yes, to do anything for Prabhupada. Whatever he said, we'd do it. But sometimes we wanted to improve, change. So one day, I guess just nonchalantly, we said, just tell her, yes, Prabhupada has for lunch rice, chapatis, dal, sabji, little sweet at the end, rasgulla, sandet. Prabhupada liked the Bengali sweets. So when I said, she said, how much? I said, he can eat 4 chapatis, 5 chapatis, 6 chapatis. I bring him in one at a time. Bring him his lunch, 1 chapati, puffed up. When I first went to the temple, it was mystical to see somebody put a puri in the ghee and it would puff up. That was the most amazing thing. It would just puff up. And you think, how did it do that? Then I make him chapatis and put them, and it would puff up. I'd never seen anything like that. You grew up like that. To us, it was a miracle. Like someone was chanting mantras or something. I bring the chapati, 1 chapati. Prabhupada. was the most wonderful thing to bring puffed up chapati. No one was allowed to be puffed up, only the chapatis and the puris. You're not allowed to get puffed up. We're the opposite. Or he smash you. And break off a piece. Then I'd run back into my room, make another chapati. They all puffed up. It was like magic. It was magic. It was mercy, Srimati Radharani's mercy. Sometimes you see people, they can't make a chapati puff up no matter what they do. They try. How do you make it? You know, it just happens. The chant, special mantras. Puffy mantra. Back and forth. Come in, slide the chapati onto his plate. Offer obeisances, run back out, make another chapati, run back in, slide it on his plate, offer obeisances, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Every time offering obeisances. I offered obeisances, I don't know how many times a day, 50, 100 times a day. Prabhupada never said that's enough for today. He knew the only good thing I was doing was offering obeisances. Helping. We offer obeisances. It helps us. We make some advancement. Make us humble. Always be humble. Especially for your spiritual master. Be very humble. So I told her how I served Prabhupada. So a few days later she comes to me. She said, Srutakirti, you know what I'm doing? I said, no. She said, I'm bringing puris to the deities one at a time. She would bring in their plates, put them on the altar, 3 altars. Then she'd go back out. She'd just put 1 puri on their plate instead of 4 puris, 6 puris. She'd put 1. She thought, I want to give them hot puris. So then she'd go back to the kitchen, roll puris, bring them into the altar, put them down. So make more puris, put them down. And I'm thinking, no, that doesn't sound like Prabhupada's program. I've always been very simple. You tell me what to do, I do it. No imagination. Sometimes imagination is not a good thing. If you use it to figure out how to spread Krishna consciousness, good thing. If you use it to try to figure out how to change your deity worship, change this, change that, not a good thing. These things are, we say, set in stone. They don't change over time. So, of course, in the afternoon, I go in Prabhupada's room, offer obeisances. Whenever you would go into his room, if he didn't ring the bell, he'd look at you. Yes? I said, Prabhupada, I said, I told him, I said, Shalavati, she started bringing the deities puris one at a time. He said, nonsense. He said, you can't do that. He said, once you bring them their plate, you close the door, you have to let them eat. You don't disturb them. Why is she doing like this? I said, well, I told her. He said, nonsense. Don't change. Why changing? You Americans, he said. Us Americans. You know, these Americans, he said, they helped them so much. But then other times he would say, you Americans, rascals, fools. One minute he'd say, all the Americans came to America. You Americans helped me spread Krishna consciousness all around the world. Then the next minute he'd say, you're all a bunch of fools and rascals. Change disease. You said, tell her no. Yes, Prabhupada, I'll tell her. I knew it was wrong. Because we don't change what Prabhupada gave us. The potency is there. His purity is coming from him. Still to this day, everything comes from him. Then another day, I was getting, Mahaprasadam, same place, New Dwarka, Los Angeles Temple, Shalavati, head pujari, cooks are there. Americans, we always figure out how to do it better, faster, cheaper. So, morning sweets. What are the deities? What do they have here for Mangalarti sweets? Who knows? Rasgula, Sandesh, Gulab Jamun, Burfi, Rabri, Kheer, right? Milk sweets. What's everything made with? Milk. Milk. Miracle. Prabhupada said miracle food, milk. Now, of course, you know, when milk is bad, everything's bad. Everything's bad in Kali Yuga. Prabhupada said milk, he said it feeds finer brain tissues in the brain so you can understand spiritual life. You see someone they don't understand, say, drink some milk, maybe you'll understand a little better. Offer some milk to Krishna. He's a cowherd boy. He drinks milk right like that. He drinks milk. So they came up with it sweet. Because to make these sweets takes a long time. You know, to make burfi, you can't do it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Sandesh, I used to make paneer, press it out, in the marble press until you can't feel one grain. It's just paste, like paste. Pressing, pressing. Little sugar. Cook them slowly, slowly, don't burn. Everything takes time. Big pot of sweet rice, you stand over for hours. But the result? Nectar. So they had this idea, it takes so much time. We got to do something faster. Faster. So they came up with this sweet. It was kind of like a mugwort, but not so sophisticated. It had dry fruits, some nuts, puffed rice. Not like Indian puffed rice that you get, but this puffed rice was in a box, cereal box. Quaker Oats, where was Quaker? Yeah, like Rice Krispies. Well, this was puffed rice, but it was very different, kind of tasty feeling commercially. Everything commercial made in America. Nothing has any taste in America anymore. That's another subject. Then they roll these together, very simply. Roll them together. Maybe there was honey in it. Maybe it was the dates and raisins with the sweet. Boom, boom, boom. You could make 100 of them in the time you could make it. You know, just a few rasgulas or sandesh or burfis. So I'm getting it in the Mahaprasadam. Some looking, again, Ashtalavati. Oh, these are the daily sweets. So this is what they're offering to the deities. Every offering is concoction. So I thought, oh, okay. So I don't say anything, but I serve Prabhupada his lunch. I would always put 4 sandesh on his plate, rasgula. Sandesh was the most common. Wherever you went around the world, you could make sandesh, it would last for days. Prabhupada said, you make it properly, it will keep for a week. So I put 2 sandesh and 2 of these things in the bowl. So he has his lunch. Prabhupada, everything very regulated. Start out with the chapatis, bitter melon, and sabjis and chapatis. Last thing he would open up his little kapuri or rice, mixing the rice and dal. Then he goes for the sweets. So then at the end I come to get his plate. He goes, what are these? I knew it would happen. I didn't have a lot of imagination, but I did have some common sense. So I knew he would say, well, what is this? I said, what is this? I said, oh. I said, these are the daily sweets now in the temple. He looked at me. He said, who's making this concoction? He said, I've given you the standard sweets. Rasgula, sandesh, gulab jamun, burfi, like that. He said, why are they doing this? He said, why do they have to change everything? He said, I've given you the formula. Prabhupada's given us the formula. All of his books, every page. His formula is there, how to become Krishna conscious. He said, don't change anything. You Westerners. Now it's not just us Westerners, also you Easterners. Don't start thinking us Westerners. You're all nonsense. Putting up with change. Change disease, Prabhupada called it. That's the worst disease. This coronavirus is not the worst disease. That's nothing. That is just another whatever in the material world. Disease everywhere. Disease. The worst disease for us is change disease. Prabhupada gave us coming down. The potency is there because he's transparent. Didn't change anything. Didn't change the essentials of Krishna consciousness. How to worship the deity. Hasn't changed. It's not our business to make changes. Everything there in his books describing what to do. He gave us such a nice, practical, easy formula. And the more we follow that, the more we have the potency to bring others to Krishna consciousness. There are people that actually want the truth. They don't want anything else. They don't want it watered down. These are the people that Prabhupada attracted. He said in Kirtan, when they said what to do, how to attract more people, sometimes devotees, they would ask Prabhupada, what can we do to attract more people on Harinam? He said, you're not trying to attract people. You want to attract Krishna. Everything we do, we want to attract Krishna. And if we do that, those who are sincere, those that are looking, they'll be attracted. Those that are frustrated in this material world, and more every day, tens of thousands, millions, 7 billion people on this planet, or whatever they say. More and more they're getting frustrated. They're in fear, they're in anxiety. And the relief of this anxiety, Krishna consciousness. And very often it starts with Prabhupada's books. So we're all very, very fortunate to be here at this time. It's not an unfortunate time. We're in most fortunate time. People need Krishna consciousness more than ever. They need Prabhupada's books more than ever. He told me, sitting right in front of him, Krishna is in every word. You know that story, yeah? But I see here that I was supposed to stop at 8:45, including questions, answers, and comments. Because I broke that principle. But I think we're okay. But we can stop here. I have, unfortunately, have a flight out this evening. My wife and I heading back to the U.S. We can all say a prayer to the Lordship here that we very quickly get a visa, come back to India. Nice missionary visa. We can come and stay for 5 years without anxiety. So that's our desire. Any questions, comments? Hare Krishna. Good to see you.
Because I've been struggling over there with the lockdown. I was the last plane to land in San Francisco on March 18th. And I was homeless, and then finally after Atlanta, I got in Atlanta Temple in June. And then America is not like the early days. But I'll tell you right now, devotees came down from New York because of the COVID, and they ended up right across the street in another place. And they're doing 7 at a time, hardcover books for $50 or something. And then a smaller 5 paperback, like 15 or 10. And man, they're setting records. Yeah. And they're making devotees. They just moved. They just moved just as I moved. They came when I came, and I got there so I could go over there, and it was so nice. And just as I left, they got a new place, and they're able to pay the monthly payments for $1 million. It was reduced from $1.5 million. A church, a big church, 4-acre property. It's one of the best facilities. Where is it? Atlanta. Prabhupada blessed that place. And Gornatai went into Samadhi, on the Vyasa side, when the Radha Damodar party came from. Yeah, anyway, so, but at the same time, you have the temple with mainly the Indian congregation. The Prabhupada was there. Now it's mainly very nice and enthusiastic, but Indian. And so it's now I see it's complimented. But also, and the ones that I was living with, and I've watched some of them make advancement, but it's called Krishna West, bridge preaching. And boy, what do you have to say about the bridge preaching?
Nothing. We have to stop now.
Okay.
Anyway, people come. Prabhupada said you can touch your nose like this, or you can go like this.
Yeah, that's just like that.
So, when I came, it was just like this. I saw devotees chanting Hare Krishna, and they just touched my nose, and everything was finished. It was very freaking easy. I think they didn't play hide and seek. Hide and seek. What do you call hide and seek here? Yeah. There's no hide and seek. It was just boom, right there. Big floodlight. This is Krishna. Anyway, very nice to see you. Welcome. Haribo. Go to Vrindavan. You all know my god brother? My god brother. Yeah. Younger brother. All right, one more question. Somebody had a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much for this wonderful lecture. It's just my question. It's not question, just I want to know your some realization. When you first time got the opportunity to become the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada, after 2 weeks hard work in kitchen, and you didn't take darshan of Srila Prabhupada those days. I think August 1972. So can you please share your realization? So your realization when you got the opportunity to become the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan.
I don't even know how to. Of course, overwhelmed. It came out of nowhere. There was no plan. It was the John Mastami, 1972. Like you say, I was the cook. I was a cook in New Vrindavan. And they had a big festival there. A few hundred devotees came from all over the USA because Prabhupada would be there. He did Bhagavad Sapta. He did Srimad Bhagavatam class on Govardhan Hill. New Vrindavan had everything. Govardhan Hill, Radha Kund, all these things were there. But I was in the kitchen, so I didn't even see him. I was busy cooking all day with helpers. Radhanath Das Brahmachari was cutting vegetables, rolling chapati. Dear Krishna, he was Grahastha, he was also helping in the kitchen. And then the day before Prabhupada left, Kirtanananda came into the kitchen where I was making milk sweets for the next morning, for Mangal sweets. And he just said, "Do you want to be Prabhupada's servant?" I said, "Yes." Who would say no to such a thing? Young boy, And Prabhupada was very expert because, of course, when you saw Prabhupada, you say awe and reverence. So much awe you couldn't even think. You become brain dead, brain freeze, you say, in front of him. When I first met him 4 months earlier in Los Angeles, Kirtananda introduced me to him in his room in New Dwarka, that same room. He made chapatis later. And Kirtananda said, Prabhupada, he's a nice brahmachari coming. And he looked at me and said, what's your name? And my mouth didn't work. And I heard Kirtananda say, it's Srutakirti, Prabhupada. So very nice. But that's what would happen. But then when I became his servant, that was it. No instructions, no anything, no manuals, no japa courses, no personal serving courses, nothing existed. I just became his servant, and the other servant wasn't even there. There was no relay at all. So then we went to Pittsburgh. They told me, when Prabhupada rings the bell, you answer it. That was my class. When he sits in the plane, you sit next to him. When he sits in the car, you sit next to him. I can do all that. So then we're in Pittsburgh, and he's in his sitting room, and I'm sitting in the next room, which happened to be his bedroom, just for the day. And his suitcase is there. So I open up the suitcase, looking inside, slowly towards the one chadar, a sweater, some socks, a cooker, which who knows what that was. Cooker, a big metal brass thing. And the bell rang. So I thought, Prabhupada. I ran into the room, just next door. I ran in, offered the basin and sat up. I didn't know what to do, but he rang the bell. So I just looked at him, and he looked at me. And I said, yes, Prabhupada, what can I do? He said, nothing. He said, I just wanted to see how fast you were. And he smiled. So the first time he rang the bell, he just with humor, and then all my anxiety went away. So that was Prabhupada, expert. 2 days later, he rang the bell after lunch. I went in. He looked at me, and I was right beside him. It was in Dallas. I wasn't even in front of him. This was like formal. I came up beside him, offered the obeisances. He looked at me. Srutakirti, your name's too long. He said, from now on, I'll call you Shruto. Yes, Prabhupada. He could have called me anything. He could have called me rascal, nonsense. I'd have answered. Hey, Malecha. He called me all those things. Fool, rascal, Malecha. Expert. So many things he called me. But he said, and he never said it again. But again, it was just a way of making me comfortable so I could do my service. You have to be comfortable to do your service. You can't be in anxiety. How could you do service if you're always in anxiety? So in front of Prabhupada, we were in anxiety. Just looking, watching every move, looking in his eyes, seeing how he moved, seeing how he ate, seeing how he put on tilak, seeing how he put his shoes on. We're just watching. Because he was a deity. But he was a moving deity. Yeah. All right. I'd like to stay here with you all morning, all day, but we can't do that. But, so, one last thing, if there's any guests here, just because there's book distribution marathon going on, and I'm not a very good book distributor, not a good fundraiser. When anybody buys a book today here, I'll sign it for you. just so I can think I distributed a few books. Okay? Okay. Srila